All right. Yeah. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this podcast session. So we are live already, and our guest is here. So let's wait for people to join us. Thank you, sir. Okay, someone already joined us. All right. All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this podcast session, Dtech Tips and Talk. If you are joining us, please share the live with others so we can go on. You're welcome. As you are joining, please do us a favor and share the live with others so they can join us. We have 5 minutes more, and then will start. Thank you. Thank you. The podcast session will start at exactly 7:40 p.m. So that's 5 minutes. We can do well to share the live with others so they can join us. Thank you. All right, we have 2 minutes to kick off. So let's do well to share the live. Thank you. Let's do well to share the live, please. Let's do well to share the live. All right. Thank you all. So we would start. Sajud, are you here with me?
Yes, sir.
Sajud.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, sir. We will kick off now and hopefully. All right. Sorry for the. All right, Sajud. Now I would want to welcome you to the stage. Thank you so much for joining us. God bless you. So, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir. You're audible.
All right. Thank you, sir. So, sir, can you tell us what comes to your mind when you first saw the topic? A man is not a curse.
All right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening,
What
sir.
comes to mind first at the sight of a topic is just more like the topic is a response to the misinformation and a lot of negativity that has been going around regarding masculinity and being a man as a whole. So, what came to mind first is regardless of whatever wrong that being a man has been painted as, being a man is not a cost. Of course, masculinity have the advantages, a lot of advantages to it, and also has some baggages that comes with it as well. Every gender, both male and female, have advantages and also have some baggages that comes with it as well. So the topic I see it as a response to the negativity and wrong impression that has been going around about manliness and masculinity as a whole. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. So, what can you say about the topic? What do you have to share with us, sir?
All right. Thank you very much, sir. So, Martin Luther King Jr. says something, and I would like to quote it as I say one or two after that. The ultimate measure of being a man is not where he stands in times of peace, in terms of comfort, in terms of convenience. The ultimate measure of a man is where he stands in times of challenges, in times of inconveniences, in times of controversy. So there's this quote as well that whatever you focus on expands. And if you focus on the merits of masculinity, definitely you'll see more reasons why being a man is a blessing and not a curse. But if you've been brainwashed by, or you've been saturated by a lot of negativities that are flowing around regarding masculinity in your locale, in the internet, and all of that, then you'll be forced to focus on those negatives, and whatever you focus on expands is a law that is applicable anywhere, anywhere, anywhere. So whatever you focus on expands. If you focus on the strengths, the blessings of masculinity, you see more reasons why being a man is a blessing and not a curse. And if you focus more on the baggages that comes with masculinity, the um down times that comes with masculinity, then you see more of negativity in being a man, actually. So, what are some of the blessings of masculinity, really? Since being a man, from my standpoint, is a blessing and not a curse. So, some of the blessings is first, a male man is blessed with strength, strength. And when I mean strength, I'm not just talking about physical strength. Of course, physical strength is a major factor when it comes to manliness, because by making, a man has 40% muscles than the feminine gender, than the females. A man is made up of 40% muscles than a female has. So physical strength is one of the advantages of being a man. By your structure, the amount of stuffs you can do physically, you are more stronger than the female gender as a man. So that's one of the blessings. You are physically strong than a woman. And these are one of the stuffs you should focus on as a man, not trying to be what you are not. Focus on your strength, physical strength in terms of labor, in terms of protection. You are more strong than a woman. And also, a man is more strong emotionally than a woman. And I'll explain this. Being emotionally strong doesn't necessarily mean you are not expressing your emotions. It doesn't mean you are hiding your pains and anxieties. Rather, you are found a way to balance whatever it is you are feeling. You have found a way to balance your emotions in terms of expressing it and still acting as you should, regardless of your pain and anxiety. So, real test of masculinity is not, again, as I said earlier, where a man stands in terms of comfort, but when he's pressured, whatever comes out is what that man actually is. So emotional strength is one of the makeup of masculinity. Not that you are emotionally absent, not that you are trying to suppress your emotions, not that you are trying to suppress your pain, that you are trying not to express your grief. If you lose someone as a man, it's okay to feel it. It's okay to mourn the loss of the person you just lose. It's okay to mourn the person in a proper way. But refusing to mourn and burying the emotions deep within is one of the things that um, projects negativity in manliness. And what managing those emotions in the wrong way is one of the things that contributes to the high rate of suicide amidst the male gender. Of course, being a man is a blessing and not a curse. So a man is emotionally strong. And one of the ways you show this strength is by managing and expressing your emotions the way you should and not trying to be emotionally absent or to be emotionally distant or trying to suppress your emotions, whether positive emotions or the negative emotions. So, what's the purpose of this strength that a man is wired with? Basically, the purpose of this strength is not that I will just speak on three purposes of this strength that a man is built with. First is building people. Then second is providing stability. That as a man, the way you express your emotions shouldn't be in a way that spreads panic, but it should rather be in a way that regardless of your fears, people can still feel safe around you. People looking up to you can still feel safe, even though you are feeling the fear they are feeling as well. Also, the third purpose of this strength is defending the vulnerable and not crushing them. So, as a man, anywhere there is a vulnerable being, whether a child or the feminine gender around, they are not objects you tread on your under your feet. They are not objects you look down on, but they are people you should defend with your strength. You should defend the vulnerable, whether the opposite gender or a child or your fellow man in times of need. So, three purposes of strength that I mentioned is building people, providing stability, and defending the vulnerable. So, your strength is not a cause. Your strength is not a cause as a man. Your strength is not a cause. So, number two blessings of masculinity that I would like to bring to our notice is leadership and decisiveness. Naturally, a man has this sense of leadership. Naturally, it flows naturally to a man. That's why you can see a family of six children with only one boy. Naturally, the boy assumes more like a leadership role or this heirship role. Of course, culturally, that has been abused as well in terms of saying if you have only one gender as offspring and all of that. We're not talking about that tonight, but naturally, a boy, a boy child amidst several other female children, naturally, responsibility of looking after them, whether they are older or younger, falls naturally on the shoulders of the man because a man is naturally a leader and has this ability to be decisive when it comes to decision making. So that's another blessing of masculinity, that you can lead, you can lead, you can lead, you can lead. And also, another blessing of masculinity is criticality. And when I mean criticality, it also has to do with decision making, the ability to consider carefully options, to weigh them before actually making a decision. According to research, a man thinks deeper than women, but women thinks faster than a man. Women thinks faster than men, but men think more deeply than women. So criticality is a blessing of masculinity, that you can, regardless of the pressure, think deep and think through before making a decision. Are we still together, please? So you can make a decision after you've thought through whatever options that are available, and you can, as a result of that, stand by your decision. Stand by your decision because you carefully thought about it and you've made the decision. Also, the fourth blessing is men are blessed with more risk appetite than women. And men, by wiring, loves taking more risk, more calculated risk than women. And lastly, under the blessings, and this is not to talk down on the female gender, is man is also free from all the um, psychological um, psychological disruptions and malfunctions that come with the cycle of women. Talk about the menstrual cycle, the childbirth cycle, and all of that. Man is naturally free from all of that because, regardless of how you want to become a woman, let's say you are tired of being a man and you want to become a woman, there's no way you can do it that you will menstruate, regardless of whatever drugs you take. As at today, all scientific research and diggings to make the male gender being able to conceive and give birth is not none has been successful so far. So there's no amount of wealth or how much you try that can make you have the cycle of women. So that naturally is a strength to the male gender, that you are free from the dysfunctions and the disruptions that come with the menstrual cycle, the pregnancy, the childbirth, and recovery phase of childbirth. So naturally, you are free from all of that. So these are the things you should focus on as a male man, and not on the downside or some of the baggages that comes with masculinity. Remember, I said earlier that every gender, both male and female, have advantages and some baggages. Every gender has merits and demerits that comes with being a gender. So some of the baggages that comes with masculinity, first I would like to say, is in terms of the crisis that comes with this 21st century thingy that is going on around. Because culturally, in the olden days, masculinity is defined by strength and how much you can provide for your family. So, but now that some women even make more money than men. So in this 21st century, how do men define their meaning? So that's one of the baggages that comes with masculinity in this 21st century. That as a man, you are confused of what your real identity is, because while you were growing up, they taught you that the job of a man is solely to provide for the family, nothing more, nothing less. But now that even your wife is earning more than you, So how then do you define your masculinity in such scenario? So that's one of the baggages: confusion of identity. Confusion of identity. And also, the second baggage I would like to mention is trying to suppress emotion instead of managing it based on what we've been told while growing up. And I would like to say this as well, that most suicide cases globally are men and not the female gender. So more men commit suicide than women. Why? Because there's this silent psychological crisis that every man is into, just because you were told while growing up that big boys don't cry, real man don't show their emotion. If you do well, they will tell you are a man, and if you didn't do well enough, they will tell you be a man. So being a man has always been the reward for doing well as a man, and be a man is also the motivation for you to do well when you are not doing enough as a man. So there's this psychological crisis that real men don't express their emotion, rather they suppress it, which is all force, which is all force. So men, out of four suicides, there's every tendency that 75% of that four suicide is a man. If there are four suicide cases, that means three out of the four, statistically now, can or will be a man. So if they report a four suicide case, there is high tendency that 75% of that case or the suicide cases being reported are men. It is even worse to the extent that a man will be laughing with you few minutes ago, and in the next couple of minutes you hear the guy just committed suicide and all of that. So men have been wrongly programmed as a result of falsehood that is flying around about masculinity, and men don't express their emotions, rather they suppress it. Real big boys don't cry. So when you lose someone, you don't allow yourself to feel the grief, to mourn the person properly. Rather, you just man up and you keep going on. And one day that you've reached your elastic limit, the man will just conclude, there's nothing worth living for. Let me just end it here. So one of the baggages is this psychological crisis, the silent battles that men fight. And also the third baggage that I would like to mention before I wrap up this talk and hand over to the host for the questions is inability to be vulnerable as a man. So statistically, it has been said, it has been discovered that male man, live 4 to 5 years younger or die 4 to 5 years earlier than their female counterpart or the females in their age. And I'm sure a lot of us will have seen this around. When you go to some of these remote villages and all of that, you see than old men, even though sometimes the men that has died are younger than the women that are still alive. So 4 to 5 years, men of the same age with a woman dies than the actual time their female counterpart will die. So real men don't see vulnerability as weakness, rather it is a strength. But because of the falsehood that has been sold to us over time. We've now seen vulnerability as a baggage that male gender now carry around, or because the vulnerability of some men in time past has been exploited and has been used as weapon against them by the female gender. So now most men assume being vulnerable is a weakness and not a strength, which is far from the truth, regardless of people's experience in time past. So thank you very much. I would like to hand over to the host.
All right, thank you so much, Sir Jude. God bless you for this wonderful talk. So you talked about masculinity as a blessing, and in that blessing, you made mention that it contains strength, managing your emotions, leadership, criticality, and more risk appetite taking. So we have turned this masculinity to look like nothing like a blessing because growing up, I something happened to a boy child, and when he decides to show emotion, they'll be like, "Are you not a man?" I mean, a boy was fell and he started crying, and people around will say, "You are a man. Why should you cry?" So that saying built something in his head that okay, as a man, you are not supposed to show emotion. And growing up in that state would cause a lot of trying to suppress emotions because sometimes humans need to show emotions and sometimes need to let out what they feel. So now, what do you think can happen to correct how young boys have been trained to grow into men?
All right, thank you very much for that question. So when we know better, we do better. When we know better, we do better. So a lot of us grew up not in the ideal situation of what it feels like to be a man. And a lot of persons grew up in that situation as well. That you are not permitted to express emotion. If you are down, they tell you be a man. If you do well, they tell you you are a man. So there's no room for expressing all of that. So when we know better, we do better. First is you have to consciously unlearn those rubbish that you grew up knowing, and you have to really learn what true masculinity is and focusing on the merits of masculinity. So you don't just live by what you were told. Now you have to decide what actually masculinity is by first unlearning the things you feel were wrong that you were exposed to. And in doing this, you have to be very sincere with yourself, regardless of whoever told you that, whether it's your dad or is a man you respect outside your home and all of that, regardless of whoever you learn them from, even if they are your siblings or your parents, you have to be truthful to yourself that I love my parents so much, but this thing right here is wrong and I have to unlearn it. It doesn't mean you will still not honor them again. It doesn't mean you will dishonor them. But that particular knowledge, you have to isolate that knowledge that I am a man and I have emotions as well. And it is not a weakness expressing my emotion. It is not a weakness being vulnerable. So you have to be sincere with yourself, isolate the problem, and then deal with it as a problem and not as something you are trying to cope with. So unlearn that rubbish, then start taking in new doses of information of how and what a real man should look like in terms of strength, purpose, leadership, criticality, building people, taking LD risk, and all of that. So, yeah, when we know better, we do better. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. Mm. So you made mention also that in strength, in the blessing of strength, there is building people and the strength to providing stability and the strength to provide the vulnerable. So imagine a man who grew up building himself. Peradventure, he might build himself the wrong way because he did it by himself without no guide. How do you think this man will build another man, sir?
Can you please rephrase the question?
All right, sir. So you said men have the strength to build people. So imagine a scenario whereby a man built himself to become the kind of man he is. Maybe he ended up building himself to be a wrong man. A wrong man in the sense that okay, a wrong man in the sense that he built himself what he is not supposed to be like. So this person, which is by the way he built himself now, growing up building himself without any guide, how do you think this person can build others?
Okay, that's a very serious question. But a blind cannot lead the blind successfully. So if by whatever means you arrive at building yourself to be a wrong man and you don't check that curriculum that made you a wrong man to work on yourself or to decide a curriculum that you will use to raise and train others, then there is no way you can train a man to be a right man if you are wrong in yourself. If your curriculum, the curriculum you use to teach yourself to be the kind of wrong man you are, is not changed, if the curriculum remains unchecked, then you will want to use that same curriculum that produced you to be a wrong person to now train someone else to be a right person. It's not going to work. It's more like a flavor of lunacy trying to do things the same way and expecting a miracle of transformation than the result you've been getting before. It's not going to work. So if you don't check the curriculum that built you, if you don't question and repackage and rebrand to that curriculum to produce a better result, then so sorry, you're going to only raise people to be as wrong as you are as a man. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, sir. So I would love to head up into another dimension again. So this question is like kind of should I say somehow the society now only respects men that have value, men that can provide at the moment. So imagine girls saying on social media these days that if your boyfriend cannot give you this amount, leave him. If your this cannot give you this, leave him. So this is also painting something in the hearts of men that okay, they are worthless if they can't give out money. So society also is one of the problem whereby men think being a man is a cause. So can changes be made even in the opposite genders based on how they treat men? Because this live session was not just meant for men alone. Women are here, I hope so, and they would need to learn also. So, sir, what do you think about this, sir?
Okay, if I get the question right, the pressure that comes with social media and the way the pressure the other genders place on masculinity, right? On what a real man should look like.
Yes, sir.
All right. So first of all, providing is not technology. Also, that same speed is available to push fully, provided you can be confident enough to market it. So there were days some years back that for you to know that your friend has done something great, you will need to travel as far as how many kilometers before you can find out. But now, just by snapping a picture and writing one little write up, you can get to know on Instagram in split seconds, under 30 seconds. You already saw the post on Instagram and you're like, this, and that. And also, most of the pressure that are getting to men regarding this is the bare, I think, yeah, that's the statement. This is the bare minimum a man should do for a woman or for his girlfriend and all of that is just because some persons are victims of circumstance, the victims of their own circumstance. So they made their own experience the standard, and forgetting that the life they have experienced is not what is available to everybody. And because it sounds so easy to the female gender, and a lot of people in your locale too are exposed to this kind of stuffs, and it's formed the basis for their ideologies. Again, I say, being a girlfriend is not a job description. Being your girlfriend as a man, for a lady to be your girlfriend, is not a favor she's doing you. So if you can only take care of your girlfriend based on your pocket, not based on whatever demand someone else or whatever pressure someone else somewhere that you might never meet in your lifetime is defining what the bare minimum should be. So as a man, look for a woman with content and not just people that can say nonsense, so to say. Not just people that are audacious about their foolishness. Look for people with real content, because it is not just stature you are looking for. There are a lot of figure hits without um, right thinking faculty. So it is not the figure that will raise your children, but the content in the container that you so admire. So look for real content as a man. Of course, you cannot change the way some women will talk. You cannot change the way they will define what barest minimum is based on the kind of persons and the kind of experience they've had over time. But you can control your own appetite. You can control the way you view life, and you can control the kind of people you have in your circle. So thank you very much, sir.
All right, God bless you, sir. So here's another question for you. So if a young man is watching us right now and he must be feeling completely overwhelmed by failure or expectation, what is the first thing he needs to unlearn, sir?
To understand failure, most times doesn't mean rejection. It's just something and you didn't get the expected result. It is data. Accept it as data that that failure is feeding you, not as a final verdict that you cannot be successful. So if you see failure as a data, you'll be able to critically analyze, okay, what led to my failure in this regard, and not just that you accept it as what is final. Do you get that? That if you failed in something, you don't give up. You analyze that failure. So if you accept that failure as a data that you can critically analyze, then once you experience failure, you don't try to cry over spilled milk. Of course, you regret some of the stuffs you didn't do or you did. You feel the pain, but don't be down for too long. Rise up, analyze the failure as a data that it is. Analyze the failure because failure is feeding you with data. To analyze the failure, critically examine what you did wrong or what you didn't do well enough, then go over it again. That's the way to address failure, not taking it as a final verdict. Rather, treat failure as a data, analyze it, and use it as steps to progress. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, sir. So before I ask this final question, if you are watching and you have any question, please drop it in the comment section and we'll attend to it. So, sir, this question might be personal, though. it might sound personal, but I hope you will bear with me, sir. So, sir, what are the role models or what are the principles that helped you realize that manhood is a gift but not a burden?
Oh, wow. All right. So, what are the role models that made me realize manhood is a gift and not a burden? First, as a person of faith, I would say the church community. Because as a person, I don't have the privilege of growing up with a biological dad. So I don't have a biological role model because before I grew up, it was late. But growing up with my elder siblings, my male elder siblings, and the church community, the kind of men I have in the church, both my local assembly and the kind of men I listened to while growing up, shaped my ideology. And also, while growing up, I was introduced to reading quite early, reading books, reading self development books. So, the church community, my elder siblings, and the books I read, those were the things that Because as a young boy, I was very inquisitive in terms of asking, okay, why is this so? Why is this like this, and all of that. So I asked few questions from people I look up to in church, and the answers they provided, the way they responded, and the kind of recommendations they give in terms of book reading and listening to tips, audio files, and all of that. So shaped my whole mentality in terms of what masculinity is and the way life works generally. Thank you, sir.
All right. So thank you so much, sir. This that you said made me want to ask another question. So growing up too, I at some point I grew up with my parents, and at some point I was staying alone even as a child because I came from the underdeveloped part of Kogi State, whereby education is like a big deal to education. Yeah, it's like kind of no education at all. So to get a proper education, I was moved to another local government in Kogi State, where I had to stay alone at some point, and then my other siblings came to join me. So I would say I kind of grew up all alone, and I don't have this audacity, or should I say the courage, to go around asking elderly people questions, and or even my dad, I don't know how to start a conversation with my own dad, even as at now. So this is one of the challenges men face also, because parents at times focus on providing a loan for their children and not looking into the aspect of communication, and which communication is very necessary between fathers and son. So if we should check, when young girls are growing up, a time will come where they'll be sat down by their mothers telling them about menstrual cycles and all of that. They will literally be lectured on how those stuff go. But in the case of men, your dad will not even like sit you down to tell you, okay, you are turning into a man now. This is what you are to expect in the life of a man. This is how the life of a man is. So these things were not there for me, and it was really not there for other persons. But thank God, I have elderly friends now that I can walk up to. Thank God for the gift of men. Thank God for you, sir. So the thing is, it also start. The problem is also within families. The problem is also within families, and God help us about that. So, sir, what do you think? What do you think parents should do? So,
What do I think, what, sir?
so how do you think parents should groom their kids, especially the male kids, because the communication aspect is not really there within fathers and sons. So,
All right. So I would like to answer that as quick as possible. I said earlier that when we know better, we do better. And also that a wrong man, in quotes, with the same curriculum that produced him will not produce a right man if the curriculum goes unchecked and unchanged. So if we will do better as young men than what our parents have done, then we need to sit with the curriculum that trained us. We need to sit with the curriculum that trained us, and not just use the same method that raised us to be who we are, to raise the next generation that are coming through us. You didn't grow up with your parents having time to gist with you as a guy. You didn't grow up with your parents having time to educate you on what manliness is, on the nitty-gritties of masculinity. Then it shouldn't mean you should repeat the same thing as a young man. Critically sit down, analyze your life. Okay, these are the baggages that I came up with the way my parents raised me. I will not want my kids to have this kind of baggages. I will not want my kids to experience this kind of stuffs as well. So what do you do after you discover that? You start pressuring, putting pressure on yourself in that regard, to learn how to be a better man, how to be a better father. Because just discovering this alone without being it yourself will not do you much good, because first of, children learn by observation. So if you are teaching your children what is right without you living right, it is more like pouring water into a basket. So as you've discovered what is wrong about your upbringing, sit down with it, learn yourself, put into practice, so that when you are teaching your children, it will not just be your mouth doing the teaching, it will be with your lifestyle as well. So when we know better, we do better. A wrong curriculum, if it goes unchallenged, unquestioned, and unchanged, will always produce a wrong man. So regardless of whatever experience you had while growing up, now that you're an adult, take full responsibility for your life, question those stuffs, work on them, intentionally work on them, become better, so you can be able to effectively teach the next generation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sir Jude. Thank you for joining us. God bless you. So I said earlier that if you are watching and you have a question, you can drop it in the comment section. But I think there's no question yet, and if there should be a question, it should be dropped. So Sir Jude, thank you for joining us on our online studio. This is the beginning of Detectives and Talk. Hopefully, by the grace of God, we'll be doing more and we'll be making some videos in a physical studio. And by the grace of God, I hope we would have you as our guest in one of those sessions too, sir. I really enjoyed everything you said. I have learned a lot, and I feel that our viewers has also learned a lot from what you have said, sir. So, in the absence of questions, sir, I want to say a very, very big thank you and God bless you so much. So, before you go, though, I want to ask humbly, sir, can you give us a word of wisdom before leaving, sir? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much for the honor. It's a huge privilege to be here. It's a huge privilege, and I do not take it lightly. Thank you very much for the honor. So yeah, a word of wisdom. All right. So masculinity, or being a man, I would like just to say a word of wisdom with regards to our topic of consideration this evening. So yeah, masculinity shouldn't be something you do in isolation. Expressing masculinity or learning to become a better man shouldn't be something you do in isolation. So find a community of like-minded individuals, whether people that have gone ahead of you or people that you are on the same level, striving to become the same picture. More like, okay, you both or all of you guys have a similar picture in your front that you are working towards to become. So, in growing to become a better man, find this kind of community because they challenge your mindset and they provoke you in the right way to become whatever it is you want to become. And they make your journey to becoming the better man you so desire faster. So thank you. Thank you very much. Find a community and grow together with them. Yep.
All right, thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your time. God bless you a lot. So with this, we'll be bringing the podcast session to an end. God bless you, Sir Jude. So
Amen
if
and amen.
you
Thank you, sir.
watched and you,
Yes.
thank you so much. So our viewers, you can do well to subscribe to this YouTube channel and turn on your notification button because this is just the beginning of Dtech Tips and Talk. A lot more is coming. We'll be dropping some videos after this. Thank you all for joining. God bless you.